Hello. Hope this video finds you doing well. May it be, Lord, that something useful comes out of my mouth. I've been going to Mass at a Catholic church nearby. Absolutely beautiful, like stunningly beautiful, unexpectedly beautiful church. Relatively new, close to where I live. Wonderful, beautiful space. Big, open. Anyways, I don't need to get into all that, but I feel myself more and more turning things over to God, and that comes as quite a relief. Quite a relief. Because I'm such a anxious, I have so much anxiety in me. I was going to say I'm such an anxious person, but I don't know if I really want to identify with that. There's so many patterns of worry and this feeling that I gotta resolve everything. I gotta resolve something before the anxiety goes away. And I don't. And part of the reason I can say that is just because you see the pattern just repeat itself so many times. It just kind of reconfigures, not even really in novel ways. It's still the same dynamic. It's just maybe the content of the worry changes, shifts, but it's still the same old. It's, there's something that's wrong, and it's usually something that I have to fix because I'm out of alignment, or I don't know. So anyways, one thing that I had been thinking about for a while to talk about in a video is the blessings of poverty. It's not quite how I want to say it, but or just experiences with not having much money. And yes, I feel I need to do in our hyper politically correct era, I have to genuflect to political correctness or something and say that there are levels to poverty, please. I'm very aware of that. I've seen a few things in my lifetime. But I can also just say, from having had money, enough money where I just really didn't even think about money for a long time, to not having money because of many reasons I don't really need to get into right now, but it gives one a little bit of perspective have to say I've been helped out by people when I was really kind of struggling. On the verge of homelessness. And so that is a part of this story that I just have to acknowledge. And sometimes in quite miraculous ways, at the last minute, the exact amount for something that, I could definitely share stories in that vein. Just, you could say, the providence of God. Not to shortchange the actual people who have helped me by saying it's all God. No, it was them, and they made the decision. But I think God uses us and uses us as his hands, as his servants. And anyways, so not sure what would be useful to say here. I mean, let's just say life can be rough, and sometimes shit happens. I mean, it's really vague, but you live long enough and you just see the truth in that, But what are some things I can take away? I mean, one kind of concrete example I think about is my car. I've got this old car, which I almost want to say this old car, give it personhood. But this old car, which I don't want to speak anything negative about because it's gotten me through so many challenging seasons, and boy, if not for, I just so appreciate having that car. So I don't want to, but it is an older vehicle at this point, a lot of miles on it. And I've just had a number of things go wrong with it. When you don't have money, that is a worry, of course. Car in this world is pretty important for so many reasons. But it's caused me to be more cautious about just running to a dealership, and it's usually $100 plus, probably closer to $200 if memory serves, just for the diagnostic to be done on a vehicle. And not to mention then the actual repair, parts and labor, and it can get expensive really quick. So I've found that there is, and it's been a kind of a good discovery, there's so much that can be done short of being a credentialed, mechanic, short of specializing in auto repair, just as a fool with a car. There's so much you can do that can save money, and that's been quite a discovery. I feel superstitious about talking about all this stuff because it's like anything could happen. You knock on wood, and you don't want to tempt fate, and you don't want to tempt God ever. So I'm trying to stay humble with this, but just to share, that there have been many times, and a handful of times at least, where something happened. Like, here's an example. I was driving home from work. Gosh, this was a kind of frightening one. This was like a month ago or something. I was driving home from work, and on a highway, I guess you'd consider it, a very busy thoroughfare. Is that the right word? Very busy road. I think it's actually a highway, state highway. And at rush hour, basically, getting off of work, it was like 4 or 5 p.m., something like that. And all of a sudden, the car just started to die. I had my foot on the gas, and all of a sudden, the gas pedal just released. It was like there was no tension in the pedal, which is not good. You rely on that to govern and moderate your speed, and all of a sudden it's just going to the floor and the car's just dying. And it happened quick, and it wasn't at a stoplight. It was just like right in the middle, and there's very narrow shoulder, which, man, just like not a good situation. So I had enough wits about me as this is happening, because when you're driving, well, I know Zani said that, but I had enough wits about me where I just started to pull the car over, but didn't make it far enough into the shoulder. So I got out and I pushed as best as I could, got a little bit, I don't know if there's a little bit of an incline or it was flat. I don't know. It wasn't the easiest going trying to push this car, but I pushed, running alongside it, one hand on the steering wheel kind of a thing, and jumped in when I got just the littlest bit of momentum. I don't know what happened. I guess I probably wasn't thinking straight, but I mean, you got cars whizzing past you. You don't know. You're tired after a day of work. Anyways, last thing you want to happen. So I got it where it was like mostly probably 3/4, 6, 7/8 into the shoulder, but still a little bit poking out, which sucked because it was fucking with traffic, and the car just died. Totally died. So I couldn't even and because it's a I was gonna say because it's an automatic versus a manual versus stick shift. I mean, in the old days, stick shift doesn't matter if the car's on or off. You can throw it into neutral. But I think there's probably some automatics where you could still throw it into neutral. I don't know. Because of the way the car is, it wouldn't, there was no way I could shift it out of the dead stop that it was in. I couldn't put it into neutral. So I'm like, shit. Well, I have AAA, so I got on the phone. It takes forever. It's like loud next to the road. I'm worried somebody's going to careen into the car. I'm up on the sidewalk, or I'm standing behind the car trying to warn cars away. I don't know what I was doing. It's hard to hear the automated system when you call, like, basically anywhere. And trying to get a live person was just, man, that was quite an ordeal. While this is happening, a police car, I think it was a truck, drives by. Not even drives by, it's like there's a light quite a ways up, and because there's so much traffic, it backs up at each red light. So I don't know, 1/4 mile up or so, but the traffic was coming to a slow into a stop, basically close to where I was. There's this police vehicle, and I'm waving at them. There's no way this person doesn't see me unless they're just totally checked out. And zero response, zero help. That was frustrating. From like, oh, good, finally, thank you, Lord. Is somebody that can help me, to just total letdown. Anyways, then some person does show up onto the scene. God bless humanity, but we aren't always the best. What am I trying to say here? Especially guys, and there's a good positive side to this, but we tend to, I don't think I do it as much just because I'm really conscious about it, and it just so pisses me off how this happens, but we tend to think we know everything. And so, yeah, I mean, it was a good Samaritan, and it's good that they pulled over, but he knew everything about how it had to be, and wouldn't really hear the fact that I was trying to tell him I can't put this thing into neutral. You know, I can't. I actually can't. He's like, no, we got to push it. We got to. I was like, we can't. I can't do that. Anyways, so he's out. I'm trying to explain to him what's going on. I'm trying to restart the car, see what's going on. Thank goodness somehow a miracle happens, and I'm able to, after like many tries, the car starts up. There's a little bit of gas, a little bit of pedal. What am I trying to say here? I'm able to get the car going. It's like weak. It's like the car is, there's just a little bit of power in the car, but I'm able to get it to a point where I can pull off. And this guy follows me, and I pull into this parking lot. It's at this company, and I mean, it's kind of petty to be upset about somebody who's trying to help you, so I really do appreciate that, but he takes the chance. Once I get out there, the message he wants to leave to me is, hey man, you gotta be really careful parking in this parking lot. You're gonna get a ticket here. It's like, bro, first of all, there's nobody around right now. I'm not gonna risk trying. Anyways, I'm way sidetracked here. So very concerning. I finally get AAA through all this on the phone, and I say, I got the car moving. Will you hang on the line with me while I try to get this thing home? You know, rather than try to send out a tow truck. You know, there's a little bit of life. I'm not too far from home. Let me see if I can limp it home. And they don't do that. It probably would have taken 5 or 10 minutes, but he said, yeah, we can't do that. So, which is, anyways, so it does make it home. And the whole point of sharing this is that seemingly is a very devastating, concerning thing. And on the front end of something happening like that, you don't really know. I mean, I guess if I were a skilled, experienced mechanic, I'd have a much better idea. But just because I'm not, you know, you don't really know shit. Is this like a potentially huge deal, you know, going to cost a lot of money, take a lot of time? At a certain point, well, never mind, I don't even want to say that, but you get online nowadays and you can type in, there's so many forums. And when I was really young, you know, like in high school, I took shop, and, you know, so much of it, none of this stuff was available. I don't know what my point is with that. I guess it's something that we have. There's so many resources out there that because you're not experienced, you may not realize that you can avail yourself of, and there's a lot that you, or at least some things that you can do without a huge amount of expertise. And just a little bit of research. So I did a little bit of research. Or actually, you know what? Scratch that. I mean, that applies to other circumstances I've been in, but in this case, I realized, maybe it was from doing research, I can't remember how I found this out, but, and this is kind of, I'm sure many people know this, but I'd never done it before. You can take to many auto parts stores, you know, Advance Auto or O'Reilly's or Pep Boys or wherever. You can take your vehicle to that store, and they can plug it into the computer, or I don't know what the right term is here. They can plug it into your car, and they've got this little piece of equipment, this little diagnostic tool, and you can plug it in, and it'll give you a readout, and they do that for free. And it tells you more than likely what the error is. The car, you know, will give you it'll give like an error, what's going on when you have like the check engine light come on. and they give you a little printout what the likely cause is, and so that was pretty cool. I went and I did that rather than, you've got options when a car breaks down, basically, or when you've got check engine light. And maybe in the past I would have just said, screw it, I'm gonna just call up the mechanic, and that's certainly an option. But so I did that, and it came up that it was this mass air flow unit. Doesn't seem right. Something MAP, MAS. Anyways, in cars, it is something that regulates the mixture of air and fuel that goes into the cylinders of the car. I guess in my mind I was thinking, is this sort of like a carburetor in a way? But anyways, and so I talked to the guy briefly there. He's like, yeah, that's something you could probably take care of yourself. Again, you don't know unless you put yourself out there and you try. And he was saying it's like $100 part, and you can replace it usually on many vehicles. And so I just took a beat, went and just did a quick search, did a little bit of research for my make and model, and found out that an even cheaper solution that might work is to just clean that part out, the MAF. For some reason I'm thinking it's MAP unit, whatever. And that's like a $10-15 specialty cleaner, and they had it there, so I bought it and thought, let's just give it a shot. And the car was running at that point, and so I did that. I looked into it and watched a video or two on it. It took a little, it wasn't, obviously me with very little expertise. Never having done this, so how hard could it have been? But I was able to disassemble the part and clean it out. Following the directions, following the videos on YouTube, and reading forums and things like that, and it worked. Knock on wood, it worked. So all told, that was like a $15 repair, basically. Had I taken it in, I would have lost time, would have been at least, the diagnostics. So it probably would have been a few $100s, and you feel good too, that you were able to take the situation into your own hands, so to speak, and I don't know. You just feel good getting something like that done. Less alienated. I'm just now thinking of that book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I read that a long time ago. I think that was one of the themes in there, is that kind of intimacy with a machine that you can have. That's not at all the level of know-how that I have with this machine, but just in a little tiny little bite-sized way, you feel a little bit less alienated and a little bit more like, anyways, felt kind of nice, and definitely saved money. So that's like I don't know if that's a blessing or a hidden blessing, or what you want to say about poverty and just being more resourceful. And I've got a number of stories like that with this car, where my first reaction, panic, fuck, this car's fucked. Something seemingly pretty bad. Had another one actually that happened recently. It was actually probably a better story to tell. The car died, or it wouldn't start at work when I got off of work. And so I'm thinking it's the battery, because it's a hybrid and it's got this auxiliary 12-volt battery, and I've had problems with it before, but I just replaced it recently. Anyways, so I called somebody out. It was a whole hassle. AAA, I guess it's good that you have that as a resource. You pay that one-time fee, but gosh, it's really hit and miss with that company. Takes as long as it takes. Sometimes it takes a while to get somebody to come out. They contract out with other companies, and it's anyways. So finally got somebody out there, checked the battery. The battery was fine. So I was like, fuck, this could potentially be a lot worse. Now I had my key fob, which is old and basically is basically the equivalent of threadbare. You know, if it were a shirt, this key fob is threadbare. You can see the computer chip underneath exposed, and I'd say I should have taken care of it sooner, but I didn't. So, you know, should have, could have, who knows? But I was thinking, shit, man. So it takes like an hour, and again, you're off of work and you're tired and you just want to get home. So the guy comes out finally and he says, nope, there's nothing I can do, so we're gonna call a tow truck. Well, long story long, it was like they sent the wrong tow truck, and that took like an hour to get that guy out there, only to tell me it was the wrong one. So they call for another one. An hour goes by. I guess that falls through. And finally, they call for a third guy. Another hour. I was out in the parking lot for like over probably 3.5, 4 hours, something. To get 4 or 5, I can't remember. I didn't get home until after 8 o'clock. Anyways, it was just kind of a crazy fucked up nightmare. And finally got this thing hooked up. Now, I was on the phone with the mechanics the whole while, and I'm thinking, shit, man, this sucks. Because then I'll have to Uber, pay the cost of Uber to get wherever I need to go to work or whatever while the car's in the shop. Again, they're quoting me like $180 just for diagnostic, and this could be a very potentially bad thing. But that fob situation, I kept having this thought like, maybe it's just the fucking fob. Like I've just worn this thing down so bad that it's just not starting because there's some disconnect with the fob. The fob is just broken. And there's a way in which you can kind of manually, not exactly manually, but you can insert the fob into the actual, just below the dash to get the car started. So I was trying that, nothing happening. Because usually you can just have the fob on your purse and it'll start. But, and so this third guy comes out, and he's kind of a dickhead. Doesn't start out that way, but he's just... So I'm going back and forth in my head because I've got a spare fob at home. I'm thinking, let me just get it home. Part of me saying, let me just get it home and just try with the other fob. But if that falls through, then I'm going to need to get another tow to come out. I've got to go to work tomorrow, and it's such a nightmare getting the right tow truck to come out in the first place. Should I just drop it off at the mechanic? But something is, overnight. And anyways, and bite the bullet and pay the money. So there's all these different things that you're trying to process. I end up saying, you know what? I'm going to just try and see if this little niggling hunch that I have, if there's anything to that. And so, yeah, I have the tow truck guy take me. First of all, he's like brutalizing the car. I had to like yell to get him to stop because he would have like ripped off part of the bumper getting the thing on. Just anyways, so I'm kind of pissed off about that. Just saying, Lord help me. Just let me get through this experience. And so, yeah, we're headed home, and he's got 20 different ways, things that I need to do, It's like, things that he wants to check on the car and do this thing and do that thing. And I tell him no. I say no thanks. Because at this point, I'm tired. I just want to get home and sleep so I can go to work the next day and have my mind be a little bit clearer. But also, I've made up my mind what I'm going to do about the fob and just try that. That's the next step of action. I don't want some guy, Anyways, so I tell him no. Doesn't take no for an answer. Keeps pushing it, so I get a little bit more firm. And he gets upset in his feelings, I guess. He gets pissed off. I was just trying to help, bro. And see, that's kind of the shadow side, if I go on a little bit of a tangent with men. Something I've learned and I can pass on as something that has definitely benefited my life is don't push people, you know? Offer your help, be there if you want to help, but it's not always appropriate or right. Sometimes you need to let people struggle in certain cases, especially like, if it's your kids, you don't want to fix everything for them. You want to struggle, let them struggle sometimes, be there as a support. But it can be kind of disempowering just to take over when somebody's not looking for your help. Or another thing is unsolicited advice. Don't give that. It's just crazy how hard it is for people to onboard that kind of a lesson. Nobody likes getting it, but we just somehow don't have the awareness not to do stuff like that. Not to be, I don't know. It's just a frustrating, strange thing that so many people, grown people, seems to be, if I had to gender it, more of a male thing, but not necessarily. And you can trust yourself, You can rest easy and just confidently, quietly tell somebody, no, I don't need help. And I appreciate you offering. And if they insist, you got to be more firm. But anyways, so after that, he gets on the phone. God, this was just, he's pissed off. And I'm trying not to piss this guy off just because I don't want to deal with the stress and potentially, people don't have integrity. You just see that so often, so many ways. That's just such a commonplace thing. So I'm thinking, you don't want the service to be less quality, to potentially damage your vehicle, which ultimately would, if he did do that, it would be to his detriment, but it would still be a major hassle for me, if I had to file a claim against this guy and all this stuff. Anyways, you just don't know what's going to happen. You try to just play it calm and get through the experience. So, but he's an Arabic guy, Muslim, I'm guessing. Well, I guess I can't say that for sure, but Arabic. He's speaking Arabic, gets on the phone and just going off on the phone to whoever he's talking to. Who knows what he's saying? I don't really care. I kind of let people live in their own chaos, I try not to take things too personally, and I don't know what he's saying, but he starts just ripping farts in this vehicle, just so blatant, so flatulent, so blatant, so flatulent. Is that what I'm trying to say? Which is just so rude. And I say that, I'm like, oh, really? That's really rude. And he doesn't cop to it. It's just, man. So it's really trying my patience, and I'm already at my wit's end. Anyways, finally get home. Thank God. I live on a dirt road. It's kind of, I couldn't bring it right to where I live because it'd be really hard to maneuver. It's like a narrow road, dirt road. So it's like a little ways out where we park it. But we unload it and the guy takes off. And I go back and I find the key fob, the replacement one, which is actually kind of beat up too. That's why I stopped using it, but it's in better shape. And I take it out to the car thinking, well, probably not. It's probably, but you never know. Maybe this will work. And grace of all graces, I was right. It was the key fob. It was the key fob, excuse my language, but car unlocks, fire it up, elated. After all that, it's a fucking goddamn key fob. Excuse me, Lord, excuse my language, forgive me. And so again, that's a circumstance where it would have been hundreds of dollars. I stuck to my guns. I trusted a little. I kind of had to triage and balance all these different considerations, and it worked out, man. And I got a night's pretty good, I think, night's sleep that night. Had a running car. I had to replace the fob, which that was a whole nother thing. I didn't know how that was going to work, because it's not just simply replacing the case. You actually, and that I've read online, if you were to take it to the dealer, they quote like $400, or it can be many hundreds of dollars to do that. But again, you do a little bit of research, and I found on Amazon a replacement fob for the right make, model, right year, right generation, right year, and with a chip in it. And it was $60 or $70. Now you do your due diligence with Amazon, which looks like reading the reviews. You find one that has a lot of reviews, which usually speaks well to it, a good star rating, which is also a good indicator. And then you read some reviews. And there's always a few reviews that cause you to totally rethink just about any purchase. Just horror stories, or, because you buy the fob, and then there's a whole sequence. There's like instructions for programming. It's like a blank or factory fob, or I don't know exactly what it is. And there's a way to program it to match up to your vehicle, which is fantastic. I just found that out through this whole experience. But anyway, so I jumped in. I took a risk. $60 or $70 sounded a lot better than $400. Bought it. Came back. The instructions looked like they had Google translated from, I don't know, Japanese probably, or Korean, or some other language. So it was a little bit of an adventure trying to decipher instructions, but it's funny. Just this funny sequence of things you have to do, opening and closing the door. It was like a OCD type of dance that you had to do. I'm thinking of this old show, Malcolm in the Middle, Bryan Cranston, Frankie Muniz. This time that he goes bowling, and he's got all these little like superstitious quirks that he has to do before he bowls. Like he has to scratch this side of his face and turn to this side and say a certain word. He's got this whole ritual before he throws the ball that builds as he goes. It was sort of like that. It was this weird like ritual, opening the door, turning on and off the ignition, with this choreographed sequence of, anyways. And it worked. First time. It's a brand new key fob. Whole point of that is that it, those some experiences of not having as much money and being really cautious about how you spend your money. You can find ways to be more resourceful, and it has felt good to, and there's, like I said, there's other things with that car in particular. And it's caused me again to learn to trust God and providence, and I've seen the ways that God has shown up, and I'm grateful for that. Very grateful. But there's a lot that I carry that is not mine to carry, it seems. There's a lot that I carry that I'm trying to turn over to God. And anyways, I don't know how much more I want to get into all that. Yeah, and so the thing I'm praying is, God, would you meet me where I'm at? Would you show up? Would you continue to deepen my relationship with you, to help me to trust more and to release more? I guess that's part of it, is you let go more and more. And I'm working on that. I'm really working on that, really asking God to take over, to heal me, to guide me, to help me understand what it is to have a relationship with God, to deepen in that relationship, understand His will in this world, for my life, etc. And so I could pray that for you as well, if you've watched this video, Or even better than that, sometimes I think it's just useful, maybe just for me, but to offer up, what I'm going through. Just offer that up. Anyways, take good care. God bless. May you be well.